Hello everybody, Raven Knight here. So we're back with some more For Honor lore tidbits. I have really enjoyed working on this with you guys. It's actually been kind of fun sharing with you guys some lore that I've created for the world of For Honor so that I can make my legends, and some of you guys have offered your own insights into the lore of these characters, or maybe even said that you like something that I made, or a couple of you have even pointed out stuff from the official lore that either supports or contradicts what I've said, so it's been a lot of fun. We've already done the Knights and Vikings, so let's keep going. We're going to do the Samurai today. I'm going to go through each Samurai hero and give you guys one little piece of lore that I've invented for those characters. So let's get started with Kensei. All Kensei are from a noble house or daimyo family, but not all nobility or daimyo are in fact Kensei. See, the lore says that every leader since the fall has been trained as a sword saint. Every single one. This implies that to even be considered as a general, daimyo, or noble, or perhaps even shogun, you need to have had rudimentary Kensei training. It does not mean that you need to remain a Kensei, as we've seen in Orochi and a Shugoki daimyo in the campaign story, but it does mean that they at least had to have faced the training and trials of being a Kensei. And what this implies to me is that those who decide to remain Kensei usually are those who either held up well in the training or were properly sponsored, where those who didn't either couldn't fit in with the Kensei or decided that they didn't want that luxury or they didn't feel comfortable in that position as that class, and they stayed daimyo or leaders, but they didn't stay on as Kensei. So that's where I fit on the Kensei thing. Shugoki. Now, the lore tells us that Shugoki were once guardians and then became like family. There's also indication that they came from another land that the samurai visited after their homeland sank into the sea. I can't imagine that the land the Shugoki hail from could be far from Japan, so my theory is that they're from Okinawa, or one of the other Ryukyu islands, which the samurai likely visited during their exodus from their mainland. Okinawa has its own form of sumo wrestling, which may have translated into the Shugoki style of combat, which I think would make sense here. The Orochi. The trailer for the Orochi says that they have lore and abilities taken from the ninja clans. This was before the reveal of the Shinobi hero in For Honor, and in the Shinobi trailer, Ayu says that they weren't sure the Shinobi actually existed, so where did the Orochi get their ninja clan lore and abilities if we weren't even sure the Shinobi existed at that point? My theory is that originally Orochi were Shinobi who were undercover as frontline warriors to send back information. While in battle, they were forced to resort to using Shinobi tactics and weapons. But not all Orochi are secret Shinobi spies, just the earliest ones. Now that the Shinobi have officially revealed themselves, there's no more need for spies in the Orochi ranks, but they still maintain the same training and practices. That would explain why the Orochi have the Shinobi training that they claim to have. Nobushi. Nobushi were originally intended to be last-line defenders, warriors who stuck to the mire and fought for the defense of the samurai homes. So then why do so many fight outside of the mire? My theory is that some defy their orders and follow their husbands, fathers, and brothers to war, but they wear their masks to hide their face so that no one knows who they are to punish them or their family. The Nobushi who don't wear masks have either been invited to war or do not care who sees them in battle. This way, and besides, the samurai probably aren't going to look at them and say, hey, you can't be here, because they need all the warriors they can get. But it's sort of a way to, mold alongside with cultural traditions and expectations. Shinobi. Alright, I do not believe the Shinobi we play as in-game are the full force that they represent, rather just their military arm. The actual Shinobi have planted spies and saboteurs in every territory of Heathmore, feeding information, sabotaging movements, breaking supply lines. Their numbers are legion and their information gathering capabilities are extraordinary, but when it comes to fighting, they only send those who are willing to fight and die in battle. But you can bet that if Shinobi are on the front lines fighting the enemy, there are probably others behind the lines making sure that they lose. Aramusha. I believe the reason the Aramusha carry two swords is to symbolize two aspects of their warrior legacy. The first sword symbolizes the devotion they once held for their masters and lords, but the second sword symbolizes their commitment to their own path. While they will never fully let go of their previous attachments and motives, they will forever stay loyal to the one thing that they are always motivated by. Hitokiri. I don't think the Hitokiri are just psychopathic animals who take pleasure in murder, but in fact, a lot of them follow a unique idealism that claims life is a painful, difficult, and tragic thing, and death is in fact a mercy. The Hitokiri take up their profession because they believe that it is kinder to end the suffering of others rather than let them go on suffering and struggling. In fact, many probably became Hitokiri because they think they're helping others in a sick way. Because keep in mind, the Hitokiri were initially executioners. They were there to kill criminals. Maybe they see themselves as righting wrongs by killing criminals, but they also see themselves as killing innocents as a way of relieving them of the burdens of life. Dark, but it would fit. Kyoshin. This is admittedly something of a stretch, but I believe the Kyoshin in their original inception were religious extremists. The Kyoshin are said to be the children of yokai, or at the very least touched by the spiritual world. Now, whether this is true or not, we do not know. We do know that they are outcasts from samurai society. They did not enter the war because they were called on, but because Heathmore was thrown out of spiritual balance, and they felt it necessary to right the balance. However, their reign of spiritualism seems alien even to the samurai. So what if there was a time in the ancient past when the Kyoshin actually had a theocratic presence in the mire, but were overrun or pushed out by more pragmatic and survival-oriented thinking? The Kyoshin would then sink into obscurity until the time came that they would be needed. And keep in mind, the samurai didn't call on the Kyoshin, even though they called on the Hitokiri, the Aramusha, and the Shinobi to help them out in war. The Kyoshin they did not personally call on. Why wouldn't they? Maybe it's because they are partially afraid of the theological aspects of the Kyoshin in what it may mean for the mire if they were to fully adopt it. And finally, the Sohei. Okay, this is a little complicated, but try to stay with me on this. The samurai believe that a warrior's soul resides in their weapon. Even after death, the weapon carries the legacy and spirit of the one who wielded it. So what's the deal with Sohei's 7 weapons? Note how the weapons gain a soul flame each time they land a hit. My theory is that by striking with the weapons, it awakens the sleeping soul within the weapon, and this is why the Kameyari spear doesn't have a soul flame itself, because it holds Sohei's own soul. Don't need to ignite a soul flame when you're carrying the weapon associated with your own soul. Sohei's special form of training in Zen has allowed him to master not only his own soul, but the souls of others. And so these souls, awakened by use, obey his commands. So once all 6 souls have been ignited, Sohei can command them to either empower his next strike with the 7-4 strike, or heal him as needed with his second feat. I think this makes a lot of sense because at the end of the day, we know that the Sohei had to train in not only the weapons physically, but also in Zen to truly master them, and I think that means mastering the souls, and thus the souls obey their commands, and I think that's how that goes into practice. And that is all of the samurai heroes and one little bit of lore tidbit about each one. What do you guys think? Do you agree with these lore tidbits? Do you like what I had to say here? Do you think that they fit for the characters? Let me know down in the comment section below, respectfully. And next time we do a lore tidbit, we'll probably go into the Wulin or the Outlanders. Looking forward to it, guys, and I will see you in my next video. Take care.